All right, tell me if you've seen this problem before. So you've got your app in Nuxt, and it's great. It works, does everything it's supposed to. But you see that every time that you go to a new page, it's loading new data, even if it's data that you already have. And also, when you're using asyncData, there is just a lot of code here, and a lot of it seems to be repeating. It's not the exact same, but there's a lot of similarities that you feel like should get cleaned up. Well, that's what this video is here to help with. But first, let me get this out of the way. This video is not for everyone. You need to have a basic Nuxt knowledge and a basic VueX knowledge. Or you need to have watched the previous 2 videos in this series, which will give you enough knowledge to understand what we're doing today. And those previous 2 videos I'll link to in the description. All right, so this is what we're going to be doing today in order. So first, we're going to be moving from asyncData to VueX, and we're going to be doing this in a pretty naive way, basically copying it over and changing enough stuff to make it work. Then we're going to refactor that code so it's less repetitive and easier to read, using deserializers, destructuring, and some custom methods. Then we're going to have a strategy discussion on how we load data and the different types of strategies available to us and which ones work best for our particular situation. And then once we've chosen that strategy, we're going to implement that strategy using Preloading, Middleware, and the RSVP library. So we've got this asyncData call and 2 others like it, and they're all fairly complex, and we're likely to add more and more as time goes on. So how can we simplify this? Well, we'll be coming up with some more sophisticated answers to that later, but for now we're going to port all of it over to the VueX store. So what's that going to look like? So first we're going to replace asyncData with fetch, and we'll get the store through their context, and we will call store, and actually we'll call await for the store, so our template waits until it's all loaded. And we'll call store.dispatch, and we'll call this action load all videos. Now we need to take all this stuff that was happening in the asyncData and make it happen within load all videos. So we'll start with just creating the actions hash and creating a load all videos method within it. All right, so we will take all of this, copy it, and paste it in here. Now, there's some changes that we're going to need to make this work. So first, that has to be async. And then Axios here, we used to have access to it from here, and we could, I guess, pass it in. But from within the store, you can just call this $Axios, and you'll have access. All right, now all of this should still work the same. It's down here that we need to change. So we're not just returning this data now, we're putting it into the store. So instead of a return, we'll need to do some commits. So we'll get our commit function from the arguments, and then we'll make 2 commits. One is set videos, and we already have that mutation. So we'll just take this value that was being returned as videos and set videos with it. Our next, which we'll be making in a second, is set tags. And we'll be returning the tags just like they were returned here before. All right, so we have committed all the videos and the tags. at least we have committed those mutations. We need to actually make the set tags mutation. And we can go ahead and get rid of the current video stuff. All right, so we create the set tags mutation, and it's pretty simple. And then we'll go ahead and have the default state of tags be an empty array. All right, so what we've done so far, we have our fetch hook, which will dispatch to load all videos, which will go grab our videos and the tags associated with them. And instead of returning the videos and tags, we will commit the mutations to set them in the store. So we're still not going to be able to access those. Well, we're able to, but we're not currently accessing those in here. But let's go ahead and make sure that they are in the state. So you can see there's an error here, but the base state has these tags and these videos loaded from the server-side rendering. And so that means that this is working correctly. Now let's just go ahead and get our template access to those tags and videos. And that is actually really easy. So it will use map state. All right, and now everything is loading nicely. All right, so we have taken care of our first instance of asyncData and turned it into this. Let's go ahead and see if we can make our second instance look just as good. So we'll go over to our watch page. And so we'll go through many of the same steps. So we'll have our store, and here we have some params, and yeah, we'll go ahead and use await and then call store.dispatch. And now we'll just load one video and send in the video ID param. Then we'll take the rest of this code and stick it into load one video in our actions hash. And that actions hash will of course be taking a commit as well as a video ID. All right, so how can we adjust this code to make it work? So we'll replace this params.id with a video ID. So that works now. And then instead of accessing $Axios directly, we'll have it on this dot. And then instead of returning the values, we'll need to commit them. So the tags is easy. We already have set tags, and then we can just send that in. Now, what do we do with this singular video? We could bring back current user, but I actually don't like that pattern. It was kind of a mistake to use it in the first place. There are exceptions, of course. Current user is great to use, and current video might even work if, for example, there was a video that was playing that was following you across routes. Then current video would make sense. But for our case, let's just go ahead and put that video in the videos array. So we'll set videos and just do this. And I know what you're thinking. Won't this overwrite the videos that we set here? And the answer is yes, just like the tags will overwrite. So the tags we have here will overwrite the tags we put in here. But currently, all the data is being basically reloaded on every page. So there's no downside to that currently. In a future section, I'll go over different loading strategies and how they interact and when to use each one. But for now, this works. All right, so we go here, we have dispatched to the store in our fetch hook. And now we'll need to use our computed properties. So we will import, and we'll have map state from VueX. And this is old map state from when our stuff was big enough to have modules. We'll be getting there, but not in this video. So we'll be mapping the tags and the videos, and we'll also need to use the correct syntax instead of the incorrect syntax. Much better. So we've got our tags, and we have plural of videos, but now we need to find our one video. We could cheat and be like, hey, it's the only video in there, just grab the first one. But I want to do something that is a little bit more robust, so it will be able to stick around even as we change our store. All right, so we grab our videos, and then we find, and the video ID will match this $route.params.id, and then we will return this. Now let's test it out by going to one of the watch pages. All right, there we go. It's working. Now let's tackle our final instance of asyncData. So once again, we will await and dispatch to the store. And in this case, let's call it, so we're loading a tag, and then all the videos on that tag, and all the tags on those videos. So we'll call it load tag and relationships. And then we'll send in the ID of the tag. All right, and then the rest of this will go in our store. We will once again make the necessary changes. And then instead of returning stuff, we'll do commits. And let's just copy this here, since we're doing basically the same thing at the end. And we call this something slightly different, but they're pretty much the same thing. And then the main tag, instead of setting that separately, we're just going to find that out of all the other tags that we've set. So we don't even need to do the processing on it right here. So then we'll go back to here. We will import map state from VueX. We will have our computed hash, which brings in the map state with the tags and the videos. You're sensing a pattern here, right? And then we will find our individual tag from out of all those tags. So we'll grab the tags and find it based on the route.params.id and double equals, not setting it. All right, and if we just change videos on tag to videos, then this should work. Should. If we return that value. All right, and now we have taken all of our asyncData stuff and put it into the store. Gotta admit, so far it's been a decent amount of work and not a huge improvement, but it does put all our stuff in one place, and that has several advantages. So for the Nuxt section, it'll mean we'll be able to look and see where the similarities are and start abstracting them. And later on, when we start changing how stuff is loaded, then we can, for the most part, just leave these be. All right, we're finding the video out of the videos, and it doesn't matter how the videos are loaded as long as the correct video is loaded. Now is where stuff starts to get fun. We have all three of these actions lined up, one in front of the other, and we can start to see where some of the code repeats so we can refactor it and abstract it away. Technically, we could have had utility helpers that did this back when it was asyncData, but it's a lot easier this way. We'll grab the low-hanging fruit first. So we have a lot of places where we loop through our tags to add an ID onto them. As a matter of fact, we do that in all of these. The reason we do this is because the form of the data within our app and the form of the data coming over the wire is different. And the name for changing the data coming over the wire to match what you expect it to be is called deserializing. So let's go ahead and create a method called deserializetags, which takes an array of tags and just changes them so that they're in the format that we're expecting. So this line will replace this line. So let's go ahead and create that function. It'll take some tags, and then it'll just loop through them and set the ID on the attributes. And so you can see this is easier to read. And we can go ahead and throughout all these, we'll be replacing 3 lines with 1 line. There's an additional benefit, which we'll see in the next section, is if we want to add something to the deserialization protocol, then we only have to add it in one place, instead of adding it everywhere that we are deserializing tags. All right, and so now we can do this for the videos as well. So this is our deserialization for the videos. So we will replace it with deserialize videos and copy what it's actually doing and create our method down here. And then we can go ahead and use this here. And here, we're only doing it to one video, but we can still use the deserialize videos function. We'll just create an array out of that one video, just like we do it when we're setting videos with the mutation. All right, so we've made some gains in abstraction because we're not repeating ourselves, and clarity, it does exactly what it says instead of having to interpret the loop. And stuff is a little bit more future-proof. So if we want to change something, we only have to change it in one place. But there's more we can do. So we have these 2 lines here, which are very similar, and I bet we can abstract some of that away. So we will have something, let's call it get data, where all we do is send in this. And wow, that is not the autocomplete I wanted. All right, and now instead of getting something called response, what if it could give us videos and tags directly? That would be pretty cool, right? Then we could delete these 2 lines and this line. And we're not losing anything of substance. We're just basically losing boilerplate. Well, we can't do anything quite this good, but we can get close. And so let's start with something easy. So let's get data and included from our getData method. And so that means we'll bring this line back, but it's simpler. And we'll bring this line back, but it's simpler. And these will be gone very soon, but one step at a time. All right, so let's create our getData function. it will take in a URL, and then it's going to return data and included. In between, it's going to use this.axios.get to call the URL. And that will, of course, be await, and so we have to make this an async function. All right, so we'll be getting our response here. And this is where we're going to be getting rid of our boilerplate, because instead of having to do response.data.data everywhere, we just do it once here. Let's test this out and make sure everything still works. Uh-oh, it looks like we cannot read property Axios of undefined. So this is undefined. That's because it's no longer within the actions hash. Nuxt does something special with the actions hash, so it does have access to this, but we do not have access to it down here. But what we can do is pass in Axios, and we actually don't need the $sign anymore. All right, so that means whenever we are calling getData, we'll need to pass in this.$Axios as the second argument. And now it should work. Perfect. But can we do even better? And the answer is yes. So we're currently destructuring to data and included, but we can destructure like this, meaning that we can just get rid of those lines. And now our load all videos is pretty nice. And it's still working. Let's make this work for the load one video action. So we'll replace all this with getData, and we'll pass in Axios, and then we will make it so we're assigning video and tags, and then we can delete these lines. We'll test it out by going to an individual watch page, and it works. Finally, we'll do it for load tag and relationship, and in this case, we're only working with the included data, but it's still useful. So we'll change this to getData, and here we'll grab the included array, and we can't do anything more with it here because we are filtering to get the videos and the tags separately. But still, this is a nice little improvement to the length of these lines. And this is a huge improvement to readability in general. So here we are grabbing the data, we are deserializing it, and then committing it. So pretty clear what we're doing. The similarities between all of these functions became really obvious once we put them one after another, so I could go and look at them at the same time. But if we decided to take these back to using asyncData, we could still keep a lot of the gains we've made. We could import the deserialized videos, deserialized tags, and getData methods from a utilities folder, and we could import them into each of our individual components and use them there. But that's not the direction we're going in this series. And what direction are we going? That's a good question. We're going to discuss our strategy next. Now, thanks to our work in the last section, we have much nicer code. Very easy to read. But we're still using the old strategy of completely dumping the old data and replacing it on every page load. is that the correct data loading strategy for this app? For the purposes of today's discussion, let's break up our data loading strategies into 3 main categories. The first, which we've been using, is load and dump. So you load it up when you're getting the page, and then you dump it when you're ready to go to the next page. And so this is what our current app uses. It's what you're going to use if you're using asyncData in general. And it's what server-side rendered apps use. The next is preloading. So that is, at the beginning, you just grab all the data you think you're going to need, and then you have it all client-side and just use it as you need it. And the final one is caching, which is basically you need some data, you check, see whether you have it. If you do, then you just use that data. If you don't, then you call out to the server. Or if you want to do have caching help you but not completely rely on it, just in case stuff updates quickly, you can check, and if it's there, you optimistically show that data while still calling out to the server, and when the new data comes in, you replace the old data with it. So that will get people the results sooner, but it will also get them updates. Which one of these is the best? Well, from a pure user experience standpoint, then the best would probably be a well-designed caching system. The keyword here being well-designed. A caching system can be difficult, and if you design it poorly, then you'll get weird jank everywhere. And no one wants that. So if you have the time to put into a caching system, and you think your app is going to need it, then go ahead and do that. But these first 2 are a lot easier, and we can do a combination, doing caching when needed, doing preloading when needed, and doing the load and dump strategy when needed as well. The correct combination for you depends on how your data looks. So for example, if you're running a social network, then preloading would be out of the question because there would just be too much data. Hundreds, thousands, possibly hundreds of thousands or millions of new posts every day. You'd be loading them, and by the time you finish loading, there'd be more. So yeah, not good. On the other hand, let's say that you're a photographer and you have a portfolio site. Now, obviously we shouldn't preload all of the images, but I think preloading all the URLs for the images is a great idea. Because you go to the next photo, you hit next, all right? And you don't want to have to call out to your server, grab just one record for that photo, say, okay, here's the URL, then you go to AWS and get the photo. No, you have, 100 photos? You just get all of the URLs in an array. It's easy. And preload all of that with your site. Our particular example today, with the data we have right now, it leans more towards the preloading side. So we're going to have, I'll make maybe 1 video a day tops. And then each of those are going to have 3 tags out of a pool of maybe 100 tags. And so we can preload all of the URLs and metadata for that really easily. On the other hand, if we start a commenting section, then for those comments, you never know how many comments there could be. There could be 100 per video. And then for those, we would want to use a load and dump strategy. So we can mix these strategies based on the data type and the data usage. And for most apps, you will want to do preloading for your current user, even if everything else is load and dump or caching. All right, we are finished with the philosophy, and we've decided to take all of these and combine them. So we'll just be loading all of the videos and all of the tags at the beginning of the first page load. So you'll go to your page and it'll load, and When you click this, nothing new will load. We'll just be using the data that's already there. Pretty cool. But how do we do that? We're going to take it step by step. The first step is going to be a huge leap forward in terms of the simplicity of our code, but a little bit of a step back in terms of how much data we're pulling from the server. But then we're going to improve that. All right, so we are going to keep our load all videos action, and we're going to add a load all tags action. And you may be thinking, wait, why do we need that? In load all videos, we're setting the tags, but these are only the tags that are associated with videos. And for our current setup, user-facing, this is fine. But when we get to the admin, we'll want to be able to access tags that don't currently have videos attached. So for the sake of the future, we are doing two separate load all video and load all tag actions. All right, so that means we can simplify load all videos a little bit, since we no longer have to deserialize the tags or set tags. Those both go in load all tags. And then we'll go ahead and create the data call in tags. That's pretty easy. And now it's just these two methods, and we can completely delete these other two methods. All right, our actions are pretty easy right there. Now we'll just go ahead and adjust all of our components. So they're calling load all videos and load all tags. And this page is working great. That's pretty easy. It was already loading all the videos and all the associated tags. For the video watch page, let's go ahead and see if that works. Yep, it sure does. Then we'll go to the tags page and paste in our two store methods, our two dispatches to the store, and we'll go to a tag. And it looks like every tag page is showing every video. So what we're going to need to do is here, instead of grabbing all the videos, we're going to need to filter them out based on the video IDs that are on the tag. So we'll call this videos on tag. You know, like the computed property that we used to have. All right, so videos on tag, and we'll get our tag for this page, and we'll get the video IDs here, but wait, we have not yet put video IDs on that tag. So the list of videos is going to be in the relationships.videos key, not in a video IDs tag by default. And so during the deserialization process, we're going to have to change how that data is shaped. And fortunately, we know exactly where to put that stuff now. So it's in our deserialized tags. So we'll attributes.video tags equals t.relationships.videos.data.map. All right, so we are now setting the video tags on each tag. Wait, video IDs. We should name it correctly. All right, so we've got the video IDs now. How can we use this list of IDs? Well, we could get our list of videos, and we can filter based on whether that video is in the list of IDs. So return this.tag.videoIDs.includes this video's ID. And because of the format, we'll actually have to call toString to make this work. All right, and now we'll see that it is working. It's filtering the videos based on whether they are included with the tag. And I would say that this is, in general, better design than what we had before. Because before, if someone added a video that wasn't related to the tag into the video state up here, then it would just show up here. We did not have the control in the correct place. So we've got this all working. We have our fetch in 3 different places, and we're calling the same 2 actions on each of them. This has simplified our lives quite a bit, but it hasn't made it any better for the user, because we are calling the server twice every time they change a page. So let's go ahead and fix that. Here in fetch, we have the context object, and we can bring something called from the context object. And this is basically what is the most recent route, the route you're coming from. And I can put in debugger so I can just show you. It looks like this. And we were coming from a different tag before. But if this is your initial page load, there will not be a from object. So we can define is initial page load equal to not from. And I know this is longer than this, but it's more clear for what we're about to do. So if is initial page load, then we do these dispatches. And if it's not, then we don't. And we can reload, and we'll see that, okay, we've loaded the page. We'll click on a couple more tags, and we'll see that we have not made any other API calls. We are working completely from the preloaded data. And so we can go ahead and copy and paste this into the 2 other times that we're fetching this data. And so if we do this, then we'll be able to go throughout our entire app and not reload anything a single time. So let's demonstrate that. Reload, we'll get the data, and we'll go to all different types of pages. And there's been no extra API calls. So this is great as far as it goes, but this is 7 lines that we're going to have to paste into any route that we might have the user loading. So how can we get around this? The best thing to do would probably be to go and put this on something that was above all of these pages. So currently we have it here, we have it here, and we have it here. And in the pages directory, there's nothing above it. But there are layouts. So will this work? Will we be able to create a script tag here and put in a fetch method, a fetch hook? And the answer is no. There is no fetch hook on the layout. But there is middleware. And so we can make this work. So here's what we would do. We would say, all right, we're going to call this middleware, and the name of the middleware will be load videos and tags. And now we have to go to the middleware folder and create a load videos and tags.js file. And then we will export default a function. And this function, the first argument is a context object. And from the context, we can get nice stuff like store and from. Very useful for what we're going to do. We can also make our middleware async. And what are we going to put in that middleware? This. We will paste these 5 lines in, and I don't think we'll have to change them at all. And that means we can get rid of this fetch. We can get rid of this fetch. And we can get rid of the other fetch, which is hiding around here somewhere. Here we go. And when we load our page, it's still all working. So we can see that we can go to any of these pages, both as a first load and as a second load. And if we go to our inspector, we'll see that we are still not loading any extra API calls after the initial one. But wait, we can make this even better. So currently, we have to wait for load all video to finish, and then we start load all tags. And then we can do everything else. But there's no reason for load all tags to wait for load all videos. So I'm going to bring in a promise library called RSVP. We'll use yarn add to put it into our project, and then we can import RSVP from RSVP. And I don't know if there is a standard Vue promise library. This is the one I'm used to using, but if there's a standard one, let me know and I can switch to that. All right, so we can use the all functionality, which basically says, so we put the await in front of it. So it forms a new promise that will return when both of these promises are resolved. Or I shouldn't say return, it will resolve when both of these promises are resolved. And you can add in as many as you want, and it has cool stuff like hash as well, if these have return values that you need named. So there we go, we are done with this section. We can now access all of our videos and all of our tags from any of our pages, and we are not going to be calling out to the server every time the page changes. And all we had to do was create this middleware, put it into our layout, and define these 2 pretty simple actions. We have made a lot of progress. Remember when our code used to look like this? And when every time we changed pages, it would call the API? Well, both of those are fixed now. Awesome. Let's do a quick review of what we did. First, we took the async data that was in our components, and we moved it all to the store index without changing too much except to enough to get it to work. And then, instead of calling async data, we used the fetch hook and dispatched to the store. And then we got our data from the store state using map state in a computed property. And we went ahead and did that for all 3 pages. And sometimes we would calculate out a specific tag or video from the plural in the state. So this cleaned up our components quite a bit, but it transferred all the complexity to our data store, where it's just 3 messy functions all in a row. And at the end of each one, instead of returning the data, we commit it to the store with a mutation. So that took a while, but it was fairly simple. Then we refactored our store. So all this stuff that was just looping through stuff, changing it, that got put into deserialize methods. So deserialize videos and deserialize tags. Fairly simple, but they cleaned up our actions considerably. And we also made the getData function, which abstracted away some of the Axios stuff, only a tiny bit with the Axios. It was more with abstracting away the JSON API boilerplate. And the last cool thing from this section was this little trick. So you may have used destructuring before, used it like this in the basic form, but you can give an alternate name to it, like this. So we were able to assign stuff to video and tags, which had previously taken 3 lines, and now we get it all done in 1. Then we discussed strategy for a while, and eventually decided to preload all of our data on the initial load, and so we wouldn't have to reload anything when switching pages. And so our primary tactic for that was, first we consolidated everything into a load all videos action and a load all tags action. And then we created a middleware that calls both of those. And both of those promises go to make a new mega promise with RSVP.all. And this will only run if there is no previous page. So if it is the first page that we're loading. And then we go to the layouts, our default layout, and tell it to load that middleware. And now we are done for today. I know that was a lot of information, but I learned a lot, and I hope you did too. And I'm excited for what we're going to do next time, which is basically take the rest of our app, the admin section of it, and put it into our Nuxt app, with the exception of authentication, authorization, and all that, which will be in the video after that. I will see you then.